The skies over Earth shimmered the night it happened. A ripple of green light danced above the clouds, unusual, beautiful, and entirely unnatural. People watched with awe, not knowing a spaceship cloaked in shimmering energy had pierced through. The atmosphere, broken and bleeding sparks across the sky. Inside that ship, Princess Violia clutched her side, her pale lavender skin streaked with blood. Her silver gown, once regal, was torn and scorched. Her breathing came in shallow gasps as smoke filled the air. Systems failing. Impact imminent. The ship whispered in its dying voice. Violia had no choice. Her people were gone, betrayed by her own cousin who had seized the throne. They called it a purge, a cleansing of the royal bloodline. She was the last. If she died, the Starborn line ended forever. But there was one chance. One law written in the bones of her people's magic. If she bonded with a mate from another world, her life could be preserved. The bond would tie her soul to another being, anchoring her here. And so, her ship crashed into the earth, a streak of fire over a quiet forest in the Pacific Northwest. Darren was a simple man, 35, quiet, and lived in a log cabin away from city chaos. He liked trees, peace, and listening to rain on his roof. That night, thunder shook the skies. But it wasn't thunder. The explosion rocked the ground, knocking over his lantern and sending birds into the air. Darren grabbed his coat and flashlight, his heart pounding. Something had fallen not far from his cabin. Curious, nervous, drawn. Smoke rose between the trees, glowing faintly green. As he pushed through the underbrush, he found a massive crater, still steaming. At the center, something moved. It was no animal, not human either. She stumbled out of the wreckage, graceful even in her pain, with long silver hair matted with ash and large violet eyes that looked straight into his. "Please," she whispered in a voice both melodic and trembling. "Are you human?" He stared, speechless. She was breathtaking, alien, and wounded, a mix of beauty and danger. But something in her eyes called to him. "Yeah," he finally managed. "I'm human. Who? What are you?" "I am Valia, last of the Starborn. I need your help." He stepped closer, unsure if this was a dream. "You're hurt," he said. "I'll help you. But we need to get out of here before someone else finds you." Her hand reached out, fingers glowing faintly. "I don't have long," she said. "You must come with me, and bond with me, or I will die." Darren blinked. "What?" "I'll explain," she said, swaying on her feet. "Just take me away from here." He caught her as she fell, and just like that, his quiet life ended, and something far greater began. Darren carried her back through the woods, his arms trembling not from her weight, but from the shock of everything. Her skin was warm, almost too warm, and faintly glowing where her wounds touched the air. She barely moved, her breath soft against his chest. At his cabin, he kicked the door open, laid her gently on the couch and grabbed a blanket. She shivered, even with the fire crackling nearby. "Do you have water?" she asked, her voice weak. He handed her a glass. She drank slowly, hands trembling. For a few moments, there was only silence between them, broken by the wind outside and the flicker of flames. "I wasn't supposed to survive," she said softly. "The royal line, it's all gone." He sat across from her, eyes filled with questions. "What did you mean about bonding?" Violia's violet gaze met his. "My people carry something ancient, a life thread. When one is chosen as heir, that thread binds them to our homeworld. If it is severed, they die, unless they bond with someone from another world," Darren said slowly. She nodded. "The bond can be formed by touch, yes. But the true bond, the one that saves, requires choice. You must choose to accept me, fully, willingly. His throat went dry. And if I don't? She smiled faintly, a sad, tired curve of her lips. Then I fade within the next sun cycle. Darren leaned back, trying to make sense of everything. An alien princess had just crashed into his life, literally, and now she needed to be bonded with him, like a mate, a partner. You're asking me to marry you, he said, half joking. In a way, yes, she replied gently, but not the way your kind defines it. It is more spiritual. It joins hearts, not just bodies. He stared at her, unsure what to feel. She was stunning, yes, beautiful in a way that felt unreal. But more than that, she was honest, vulnerable, not demanding or proud, despite being royalty. She looked at him not with entitlement, but hope. I don't even know you, he said, rubbing his temples. I know, but I am out of time. Her voice cracked at the end, and it hit something inside him. She wasn't just some alien being. She was someone alone, someone scared. Someone who had lost everything. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the dark forest. The stars shimmered quietly above. I don't know if I can be what you need, he said softly. You already are, she replied. You helped me without knowing who I was. You didn't run. You didn't hurt me. That is more than many I've known. He turned around, heart thudding. What happens if I do this? He asked. What does it mean for you? And for me? For me? Life, she said. For you, a link. You will feel my emotions at times. I will sense yours, but it will not hurt. If anything, it brings closeness, warmth, intimacy. The firelight danced across her features as she sat up, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. Her silver hair shimmered like moonlight, and her eyes never left his. You won't be a prisoner, she added. You'll be free to live as you wish, but I'll remain near, close as you'll allow. A long silence followed. The weight of the moment settled between them. Darren stepped forward. He didn't fully understand it, but something deep inside him, something old and instinctive, whispered that this wasn't just an accident. It felt like fate. He knelt beside her, taking her hand gently. Then let's do it, he said. I choose you. Vialia's eyes filled with light, soft, glowing, and full of emotion. Then, hold still, she whispered, tears touching her lashes. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. A pulse of warmth rushed through his body, like a tide of golden fire. His vision blurred for a second, and then he felt it. Her grief, her strength, her longing, and something new, joy. The bond had begun, and their fates were now intertwined. The morning sun rose quietly, casting a soft glow across the wooden floor of Darren's cabin. A calm filled the space, but Darren could feel the change. It wasn't just in the air, it was inside him. Valia sat at the edge of the bed, dressed, in one of his old shirts. It hung loosely on her frame, the fabric brushing her knees. She stared out the window, her long silver hair falling over her shoulder. She looked peaceful. Almost human, but she wasn't. Darren stood in the kitchen, pretending to make coffee, but his thoughts were all on her. He could still feel the warmth of the bond in his chest. It pulsed gently, not painful, just present, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. She turned suddenly, her eyes locking with his. You can feel it too, she said quietly. Yeah, he admitted. It's strange, but not bad. It will grow easier. In time, you'll learn to sense what I feel without thinking. She smiled a little. For example, right now I feel your confusion. Not hard to guess that, he said, smirking. and nervousness. Like 1,000 thoughts pulling at you. He paused. Okay, that one's accurate. She stood and walked toward him, graceful in every movement. You've done something no one on your planet has ever done. You bonded with an alien princess to save her life. You've crossed a line between two worlds. It's natural to feel uncertain. Darren gave a soft laugh. When you say it like that, it sounds even crazier. Does it frighten you? He looked into her eyes. A little, but not because of you. I don't know what happens next. What if someone comes looking for you? What if they come for me? Vaelia nodded, her expression turning serious. They will. The traitors who destroyed my people won't rest while I live. The bond protected me, but they'll try to find me. They'll search every system, including this one. Darren's jaw tightened. Then we fight, or hide. Whatever it takes. Vaelia's eyes widened slightly. You would stay with me? Even now? I didn't choose this just to walk away, he said firmly. If you're in danger, then we deal with it together. For a moment, her breath caught. No one in her world had ever spoken like that. Love, to her people, was ceremonial, calculated. But here was a human, fierce and kind, offering protection without condition. Her hand reached out and brushed his cheek. You are different from any I've known, she said. You're not so bad yourself, he replied with a half-smile. They sat together. The silence between them no longer heavy, but warm. Outside, birds chirped as if unaware of the galaxy-altering bond formed just a few hours before. Then came the rumble, low, distant, and wrong. Vaelia stood instantly, her senses sharper than his. Something's approaching, she said. Not natural. Darren grabbed his old rifle from the corner, more out of instinct than actual hope it would help. Vaelia's eyes flared, glowing with faint energy. I'll protect you, she said. Pretty sure that's supposed to be my line. No, she said softly. I may be royal, but you're brave. Brave and foolish. I like that. There was no more time. Outside, the trees began to sway unnaturally, as if a storm approached. But there was no wind. Darren moved to the door. Vaelia followed, her fingers trailing behind her, weaving a pattern in the air that shimmered like sunlight on water. He looked at her and whispered, Whatever happens, we stay together. She nodded, her hand brushing his. The bond pulsed again, and together they stepped outside, ready to face whatever had come for them. The forest was still, too still. Not a single bird sang, not a single branch swayed. Even the wind had gone silent, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Darren stood beside Vaelia, the rifle heavy in his hands. He didn't know what they were. Up against, he only knew it wasn't human. From between the trees, a soft humming noise began. It grew louder with every second, low and vibrating, like the beat of 1,000 wings. Then it appeared. A smooth black orb floated just above the ground, covered in shimmering metallic plates that shifted like armor. Strange symbols glowed along its side, and at its center was a crimson eye that blinked slowly, watching them. Vaelia's breath caught. It's a seeker. Darren kept his voice low. Is that bad? They are assassins. Silent, relentless. It has my genetic signature. It knows I'm alive now, the orb hovered forward. A long, needle-like appendage slid from its side, glowing faintly. You must run, she said quickly, stepping in front of him. No way, Darren replied. I said we do this together. I am trained in energy weaving. You are not. One hit from that thing could... I don't care. I'm not leaving you, Vaelia. Her heart skipped. That name, spoken with such quiet strength, it filled her with courage. She reached into the air, weaving strands of energy between her fingers, the lines bending light and space. A shield shimmered into existence before them, crackling with quiet power. The Seeker let out a sharp buzz and fired. The bolt hit the shield, flaring in a burst of blue sparks. Valia staggered but held her ground. Another blast came, and another. Her legs shook. Her body wasn't healed yet. Her power was still weak. Darren stepped in front of her, lifting the rifle. "Hey, over here, metal face!" He fired. The bullet hit the Seeker's side, not doing much, but it got its attention. The red eye swiveled toward him. It charged. "Darren!" Valia screamed. But before it reached him, Valia pushed forward, her hands glowing. She shouted, in a language that bent the very air around them. A wave of pure force exploded from her, hurling the Seeker back. It crashed into a tree, metal folding inward from the impact. Sparks flew, smoke poured out. Then, silence again. Darren turned, breathing hard. You destroyed it." "No," she said weakly, falling to her knees. "I stunned it. It will repair itself. We don't have long." He rushed to her side, catching her before she collapsed. "Your body, you're burning up. The bond protected my soul, but my body was never meant to survive here without constant power. I need time. Rest. We can't stay here," Darren said. "They'll send more." She nodded, her head resting against his chest. "Then we leave." "But where?" "You don't exactly have another ship parked out back." She smiled faintly. "No ship. But there is a place. Old magic left behind on this world long ago. My ancestors touched this planet before. If we find it, I can restore my strength. Perhaps even protect this place." "You mean Earth?" She nodded. "And you." He held her close, something raw rising in him. A desire not just to protect her, but to stay with her. Not out of duty, out of something more. "I don't know what's happening to me," he whispered, "but when I'm near you, I feel like I'm meant to be here. Like I'm not just some guy in the woods anymore." She looked up at him, her fingers curling around his. "That is the bond. But it is also something else. Something real. I feel it too." He leaned closer, forehead resting against hers, like she had done when the bond began. "We'll make it," he whispered. "I promise." And in that moment nothing else mattered. Not the danger, not the chase. Just the two of them. Heart to heart, soul to soul. The forest stretched endlessly before them as they moved, Valia leaning into Darren's side, each step heavy but determined. Her energy was fading fast, yet she pressed on, trusting his strength to carry them both. They didn't speak much. Words felt too small for the bond growing between them. But their silence wasn't empty. It was full of glances, soft touches, the squeeze of fingers when steps grew hard. They were no longer strangers. They were two lives woven into one. Darren guided her through a ravine, across a mossy stream, and into a clearing where the trees opened to reveal something ancient, half-buried ruins made of smooth, pale stone. Strange symbols curled along the walls, glowing faintly as Valia approached. She let go of his hand and moved forward, her body trembling but her steps sure. "This is it," she whispered. "This place. My ancestors left it here, hidden, waiting." Darren looked around, eyes wide. "This was always on Earth?" She nodded. "Long ago, before your kind even stood upright. This was one of the first resting places of the Starborn line." As she stepped into the heart of the ruin, the light around her grew. The symbols pulsed, and the air shimmered with unseen power. A soft wind swirled, though no trees moved. She turned to him. "Stay close. The bond must remain connected. I'm not going anywhere." Valia knelt and placed both palms on a large stone in the center. Energy flowed from it into her fingers, rushing up her arms like silver lightning. Her body arched, mouth open in a silent cry, not of pain, but release. Her hair lifted as if caught in a breeze, and her skin shimmered, becoming luminous. The stars seemed to reflect in her eyes, ancient and endless. Darren stepped back, awestruck. You're glowing!" Viola opened her eyes slowly. "The bond gave me life. But this gives me strength. I can feel my ancestors, their voices, their protection." A warm glow spread outward from her, rolling across the clearing. Flowers bloomed where it touched. The stones realigned, forming a perfect circle around them. She stood slowly, walking toward him. Her feet hovered just above the ground now. She wasn't the broken girl he had carried through the woods. She was royalty, reborn. But her eyes still held the same kindness, the same fire, the same woman he had chosen. "I am whole now," she said softly. He smiled. "I can see that." She reached for his face, tracing the line of his jaw with her fingers. "You saved me in every way a person can be saved, Darren. You didn't just give me life. You gave me a reason to live. And you gave me something I didn't even know I was missing," he replied. "Purpose, a connection, you." She leaned in, lips brushing his. The kiss was soft, warm, and full of stars. When they parted, they stood forehead to forehead, their hearts beating in perfect rhythm. A soft hum rose around them, the ruins responding to their union. Above, the clouds parted, revealing a bright column of light that reached down to touch. The earth. Viola stepped back and turned to it. "They'll still come," she said. "But now I can protect this world. And you. The bond makes you part of me. They cannot harm you without facing me." Darren took her hand. "Then let them come." She turned, smiling, radiant and strong. "We stand together," she said. Nodded. "Always." As they left the ruin hand in hand, the forest seemed to bow around them, the earth whispering ancient songs of love and power. The princess was no longer running, the human was no longer alone. And together, they would face the stars, the end.